Okay, welcome back to my channel. Um, this is obviously different from the last video. I'm going to be bouncing around from different topics, topic to topic. There's a bunch of different ones I want to cover, so I may not follow any specific order unless I start a series of like maybe at one point I want to do a VRC, a VR chat world dev series. But for now, we're going to stick with Substance Painter. Now, I know there's plenty of Substance Painter tutorials out there, but I'm hoping to break it down and also kind of teach my tips because there's a lot of people I know that use Substance Painter and don't use fill layers or masks or any of that. They just use the paintbrush tool for everything. And doing that, you lose the modularity of a fill layer or a mask or any sort of thing. And you can't go back and edit it unless you basically redo it. So we're going to pop over to Substance Painter. So this is a model I've made for an asset I'm working on. I haven't done anything with it. All I've done is model it and set up the UV map, and I'll explain that in my Blender crash course, how to do that, which should be coming soon. But for now, this video assumes you have basic working knowledge of Substance Painter. I will go back and teach more of the basics, but I just wanted to get the video out first because this one I feel is the most important to cover. So right here I have this silly little plunger launcher I've made. Right now I have just a paint layer, and I can just, say I just decide that I'm gonna color this right here, right? And then I come back later and I say, that's not the color I wanted, or that's not the, that's not where I want it, or the shape I want, or whatever. So then you have to do it again. Now I know I just scribbled here, but imagine I painted a complex design, or imagine I was painting, seas or flowers or something. Substance Painter has a lot of modularity built into it. So I almost never use paint layers. If I'm using a paint layer, it's for usually normal map related use. So a fill layer is going to be probably, fill layer is what I use the most of. So this is all one material. So I'm going to break it down and separate it. It's obviously not going to be all the same color. So to start off, fill layer, right? Now the other thing with fill layers is Substance Painter, and you can also go online. There are various websites that offer free materials that are compatible, not only just free materials with the textures, but also materials that are specifically designed to be used in Substance Painter. They're called SBSAR files. And you can also create them with Substance Designer. Now, I'm not going to do any tutorials with that, but I have used Substance Designer to create a couple tools that I use here. I will be linking them as I show them. Anyways, so for the body of this, I'm not sure what I want to do for the body, but I think for this is going to be a copper piece. So let's see, I'm going to do metal. Okay, so now we have the whole thing's been painted, right? That does us no good. We don't want the whole thing painted. And also I want to adjust it to be, so I want copper. Okay, cool. So now I have my copper material, but I don't want to paint the whole thing copper. I want to paint just this input pipe. So what do? I use a mask, right? So to insert a mask, you can either use the drop down here, or I always just right click. I don't know, just a habit. Right click and then add black mask. Now, the thing with masking is a mask simply is a grayscale. So that means it's only black, white, and shades of gray. It's a image that tells the Substance Painter where to put the actual fill layer. So if I open up, so if I paint right here, right, that's, it's telling it to put it there. Now if I put it half, it's kind of putting it there. And then I can paint over it with black, 0, and it tells it not to be there. Now to view your masks, if you hold Alt and click on your mask, you can actually see the grayscale shading of your mask that you're making, right? So I can see exactly where I'm telling it to be. I'm telling it this is kind of there, like that, whatever. So so masking is useful because instead of having to take my paintbrush, set the material mode, and sure, I can set it to be, copper. I can do the exact same thing. But what if I want to adjust my copper, right? See, I can't, if I play with these, it only adjusts my paintbrush, right? But if I come to my fill layer, I can mess with all of these live time and tweak it. So I can go back to this material and adjust all of the parameters to fit my needs. You can't do that with the paintbrush mode. So that's why it's absolutely essential that you use the fill mask when it makes sense, and you'll find that it works for most everything. So we're going to clear the mask here, and we'll delete this paint layer. Okay, so we're going to name, let me just name this. So now, so I can, so there's tools available to you. I can go ahead if I wanted to, I could paint the pipe myself. Or, right, I can go to here. This is your Polygon Fill tool. And now you notice that everything is now outlined in red. And this means it's in the polygon mode. So you have your color scale here. This, tells white or black or gray, depending on what you want. And then you have the different modes. I typically I don't ever use the triangle fill, but I'll use the polygon, the mesh, or the UV chunk. Now, the one thing with this mode, so like I can click here, right? But if I click and drag, not only is it painting the faces I see, but it also paints everything behind it. And no, there is no way to turn this off. I don't know why. It's a feature that everyone's been asking for a while, but you cannot cull, or in other words, ignore the faces that you don't see. But with your UV map, and I'll show you how to do UV map packing in another video in the Blender one. But so this object, even though it's all part of the same mesh, it's technically separated. So this right here is the object fill. So I can just, hold on, there we go. I can just click and just fill the entire thing. And now you can see on my map, the pipe's been filled. The other thing I can do, sometimes you'll have an object, but you split it into multiple pieces because, you want part of it to be this material and part of it to be that material, whatever, right? So the UV fill mode will allow you to select just UV maps. So like for the spray can right here, see how it's selecting just this, whereas, see how, because it's a separate map from the rest of the can. Whereas if I use the object mode and I select it, it just selects the entire can. So these different modes will help you fill your masks. And you can also, if you want to, like, just, so maybe you want stripes so you can fill the whole thing, and then you can just take your fill tool and just tell it to paint black. But we're not gonna, this is just for demonstration. This is obviously not what I want. So I can just clean, click, there we go. So now I have my pipe, right? Now let's see, what do we have? I do want to, yeah, I want to give a bit of height. Want it to be a little Okay. Actually, I do want. Okay, so now I have my pipe, and then let's see. I want to do a brass fitting right there. And we're going to add a black mask, and then just fill the object, just the object, right? Now, so now I have all this, all right, and I'm going to want to paint the body now here. Now I'm just thinking. So what I want to show you. So for materials that have heights, right? So this is using height to give it that bumpy texture. So if I I'll make a material here, just pick any old material. Let's do one with rust, the normal, and add the normal, add the grain intensity, right? So I have just my material here, and I want this to paint that, right? Then, but maybe I want to paint like parts of it just clean metal. Now I'm just obviously being rhetorical here. I'm trying to prove a point. So now I have this bar right here, and then I go to my black mask. Now you'll see, oops, sorry. So if I just take my brush mode here, it replaces, when you do this, it replaces the roughness, it replaces the normal map, but what it can't replace is the height map, right? So sometimes you don't want the height to leak through. I want this to be smooth, right? So what do? You're going to use something called an anchor point, right? So anchor points can be combined with fill masks to tell tell Substance Painter where you want something or where to not put something, right? So right here, this is where I told it to be. I want the brass here, right? But this is filling over it. So my trick for this is use the subtraction anchor point. So I take it, I actually put it underneath, right? And I take my right click on the mask, anchor point. So now we have, it'll do the same name as the layer, right? So now I can come over here and I can say, all right, I want to ignore this area and not paint in that area. So I can add a fill layer, right? And then I come over here, anchor points, fill layer to mask. Now you'll see the problem is now it's painting only where my mask here is, which is not what we want. It's because we need to change the fill layer mode. Now, if you've used Substance Painter and basic usage, you may have seen these, but I've never really used them. But these are all different addition modes or different combination modes, right? And I'll show you the two that you'll use the most. You're going to be using subtract and multiply. But for here, we're going to be using a subtract. And what that tells it is it says subtract this layer from that. So wherever this is white, you're going to take one. So think of it as math. White is 1. So right here it's 1. 1 minus 1 is 0, which means it is now black there, right? So now I can tell wherever I paint my brass, it will now cut a hole in the rust to allow for my brass to show through, and you can now see how it doesn't have the height texture. It's just the brass. So this is useful when you're working with materials and then you add little details on over it. Now this is obviously just, I'm not going to keep it like that. So let's see what I want to do. I want to do galvanized metal. And we'll switch it to, here we go. Now, another thing is, so let me fill tell it where to be. Okay, so here's my metal structure, my tube here. Now, galvanized flaking, and this is just me being a nerd here, it can it's usually a bit smaller, right? So if you ever have a texture and it looks too big, you can adjust the tiling. Now, you'll see here, this is the bounding box for that texture. When I adjust my tiling, and I can make it bigger, you'll see that it now tiles a lot smaller. Some materials will come with a pattern scale to allow you to adjust the size without tiling, but usually you'll end up using this. Additionally, say I want, I can adjust the angle of the material. Now for this, it obviously doesn't make a difference, but if I have something like a wood, for example, and I want it to go at a diagonal direction, I can adjust it, and now it's going in a spiral. So that's your fill layer right there, and that's how you use the tiling. Now you'll notice right here, we got a seam, right? And that's because it's a unwrapped map, and these are the two edges, and they curl up like you roll up a piece of paper and meet here. But because it's a tiled texture, it's just going across, and it's not going to be able to match. So there are ways to fix this though, and it's changing your fill mode, right? So right now we have it, and you'll usually just keep it on UV projection mode. But if you open this, there's a bunch of different modes, right? And depending on what you're working with, you may use a different mode. So there's Tri-Planar mode. Now what Tri-Planar mode does is it takes three planes and blends them to the structure here. So if I take a look at, now I can come over here, if I adjust the hardness, let's see the hardness, you can actually see, well, on this it's not as visible as some other things, but you can actually see where it's combining the blending, but then it kind of blurs it to blend it, right? So now it doesn't look, you can't really see any seams. It looks okay, it looks fine. So there's that mode. Now you'll notice, although right here, it looks a little messed up. So, all right, I don't want that. What if I do cylindrical, right? Now, for this, obviously, it's facing the wrong direction. So up here in the top, you have different modes. And you can go over here and just rotate this thing, right? Now, let's see. You can come here and just fix your rotation here, and then you can double check that's positioned properly. And you can see right here that it's all being bunched up. But you can fix that with another fill layer. So right here, so I can say, all right, I want, so okay, X, you'll see me click X a lot. X switches the opposite side of the scale, so it inverts the scale. So if I'm at 1, then it goes to 0. If I'm at 78, it goes to 21, whatever, So now I'm in this mode, and I'll click, 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 and I'm marking it to not paint there. There we go. Now, remember how I said you can run into the issue of it, mapping through. If you paint, you can also paint directly here on the map. You won't have that problem. So I can just click right there on the map, and then I can go, okay, where's the other side? Right here. So this, I can actually just grab the whole bottom. There we go. And now I've cut that part off, and then I go here. Or actually, what I can do, so if I click it, you can either duplicate the layer, or you can just click it, Control-C, Control-V, the standard copy and paste. Now, since I already have that there, I'm going to clear the mask and switch it back to that Tri-Planar mode, right? And then I'm going to come here, and I can just paint just these faces, right? And now you have the horizontal seams all set up properly, and then the ends don't look like they're all being squished to an infinite point. So using a mixture of layers, now you'll notice maybe the tiling's not, no, the tiling is the same, but you could always adjust the tiling a little bit too, you know. So now I've used this to, so you'll use, like, if you're painting a cylinder, you use the cylinder mode. If I'm, if I'm painting a sphere, I can use spherical mode. Maybe I want, I come over here, right? Maybe I want to do, just like put a decal on, right? So I can go here, see, find my logo, right? Now see how it's just being painted on. And obviously I could just size it down. Now another thing is if you want to use a fill layer and just put a single texture, you can come over here to the repeat mode and switch it to none. So that tells it don't repeat. Paste only where it is, do not repeat. Now maybe I want to do just a row, so I can do, horizontally or vertically, do a column, but usually I'll just leave it at none. Now I could just, slap it here. But maybe I have a really uneven surface, like maybe a side of a rock, and I want to put a decal on it, right? For whatever reason. What I can do is I can come over here and do a planar projection. Now you usually have to mess around with this a little bit to get it just the way you want. Kind of just figure out where it's really projecting. Just gotta tweak it to find, oh, there we go. See, so now I see it's tiling on there. And now it's going to paint only along the plane. Now this mode I don't use too often because it does get a little finicky, as you can see. I'm having a bit difficulty getting it to project properly. And maybe if I switch my tiling mode to one, that would, oh, see, there we go. I can also just use, so you can also use the scale tool and scale the projector itself instead of tiling it. So now I can just scale it. There we go. It's painting it the wrong way, so we want to take it and rotate it. Now again, you're not going to use this, obviously. Look, I even have it backwards. But if I needed to do that, I can always just switch to that mode. But for the most part, leaving it in UV projection mode will be fine. So that's the different fill modes you have. That's the different fill modes you have available to you. Obviously, you will figure out how to use them. But if the ones I use the most, I probably use just you'll use the standard UV fill, the UV projection, and then I use cylinder for objects like this. For cylindrical objects like this, where I don't want that seam. So I'm gonna delete that. Oop. Come over here. I just want to do tile 2. Set my tiling to 2. There we go. Okay. That looks good. I'm content with that. Just make sure no, here, let me collapse this so it's not taking up some space. Just checking what I want here. Yeah, I think I want height too. Now, another thing, okay, here, while I'm here. So, right here, you'll know about these if you've used a paintbrush tool, but especially with a fill layer, if you don't know, let me explain now. So these are the different layers that a fill layer can affect. So if I want to do just the color layer, now another thing here in a Substance Painter, just a quick little tip and trick. A lot of times, if you're going to, like for example, if I do, that's not a good example because I only have one material. Here we go. If I want to bake, for example, if I want to do just thickness, I can click Alt+Click. So holding Alt and clicking it will select just that checkbox, just this one, you know. So, anywho, if I want to do just the color, right? See how it's affecting? It's painting the color, but it doesn't have any of the shininess. Or maybe I want just the shininess, right? Maybe I want just the height map, and I want to use something else, right? Or I want maybe just the height and the roughness, but not the color. Just all those parts, right? So depending on what I select will determine what I use. And so like sometimes, okay, so for this here, I'll show you right now. I wanna make this look dinged up, right? So here's a trick I can use, right? So not only can you use fill layers to color, you can also use fill layers to determine masks, right? So say I want to put some scratches in here. Let's put some scratches in this. So I'm going to do just height. Well, I'll do height and I'll do a bit of color. I'll do a black, right? Now see how it's turned the whole thing black, right? I don't want that. Black mask. I'm going to name this scratches. Cool. So we've got our layer here. So now I'm going to right click this, add a fill layer, right? So now I can come here and let's see, scratch. Here we go. So if you search for grunge, you'll find a lot of, these are called grunge maps. And now the thing about these, you can grab images from the internet, but the ones that come here, you can adjust the contrast and the balance and like adjust, you know, how strong they are. Whereas images that are, you know, just as they come. So grunge maps in here are great for adding some weathering. All right, so I have my scratches. Let's see. So we got, come on. That's okay. That's better. See, so it's grunge scratch generator. So now you'll see, if I alt-click here, it's using the fill layer to generate, right? It's generating scratches. Now I'm going to show you right here while we're here. I'm going to show you another thing. So let's see. Let me tile here. So you can click, and to escape the mask mode, you can just click back and then click here. So let's see. I want to tile it. Let's do tile of 4. That's fantastic. 4. Okay. That's all right. So now you see it's all of a sudden pretty faint, right? So remember when I said they're really customizable? I can go in here, adjusting the balance, right? Adjusting the balance gives it more white. So this is what it looks like. All right, 0.5 is where it normally is. You put it up. This is amplifies it. This is reduces it, right? So for this, I think I want all over here, and then my contrast will adjust. You'll see here the blurry. It's a little better. I'm actually still messing around. All right, cool. You'll see how it's kind of blurred. Those are not all 100%. The contrast will get rid of transparency. And this is not just a Substance Painter thing. This is just how image works, or image editing works. It will always be a, you know, this is how balance and contrast will always work. Now, so, and another thing with these is sometimes they'll have a random seed, so I can click random and generate a whole new set of scratches, right? Go through here and generate all these different scratches until I find something I like. That looks all right. No, it doesn't. Why it is, I want it just on the metal body, so I'm just gonna, now the other thing too is that you can come in here and just put your own seed in. You can actually see what's happening. Now 0 is going to be that, so let's see, let's leave it at 0. Looks fine. Okay, So, but like I said, I only want it to affect the metal body, right? It's affecting everything. So what we do here is we can hide our mask, and then we want to actually paint. So this is how I do it. You don't have to hide the mask, but it makes it a lot easier. I can hide it, right? And I'm gonna paint that. So now I've painted this piece, right? And now I open my fill layer. See, it hasn't, so what you do is now you take your fill layer mode and you're gonna set it to multiply. And now you'll see it's only painting on top of where I painted, right? So if I paint here, now it's gonna paint there too. Now, what multiply does, remember, let's think of the math. Black is 0, white is 1, right? So it's gonna say, all right, 0 by 1 is 0. So wherever it's black in the grunge map, it's going to always be black in here. Wherever it's black here, even if it's white on the grunge map, it's going to not paint because 1 times 0 is 0. But where it's white and where this is white, 1 times 1 is 1, it will paint, right? So just think of it like math, and that's why they call it multiply and divide, and then subtract and add, because it's technically just math, right? So that's how I can make fill layers affect just certain parts without having to paint the scratches myself. So I can go here and I'm gonna play around with this just a little bit. Now I'll put a tile 3 on it. Cool, that looks fine. All right. Now if you ever do this, like say, okay, I don't know where I am, right? If you go to viewport, show entire mesh, it brings you back. So if you ever get lost, just remember that. I had to look it up myself, but I'm just giving some tips and tricks. All right, so let's see. I want this to look more aged. So what I can do now, there's another thing here is, so I can do, let's see, if I do a paint layer, right? If I add just a generator, I can add metal edge, right? Now this is gonna look really weird. Oh wait, I know why it's not gonna work right. All right, so if you ever want to use generators, right? You have to make sure you bake your mesh first. They will not work. See how it says maps not found, maps not found? Because I didn't bake it. So you come up here to the croissant looking thing, and I don't know why that's the button for it. And now I always change, for ambient occlusion, I always have issues with it being weird. I always change my settings to ignore backface, always. Occlusion, only same mesh name. Attenuation, none. And then I'm gonna click bake. And it's gonna bake all those textures. You can see it, and now it's done. And now you can see that it's done the edge wear, but I mean, so it's actually got opacity enabled, so it's actually making it transparent. But that's we don't want it. I mean, this is a cool look. If you want to do, make a game with something like this, that's obviously that this would be how you do it. But more likely, if you want to add that, you're going to do a fill layer, and then you're going to add a black mask, and then you're going to right click and add the generator here instead. And let's see, we want to do the metal edge. And now you can see where it's being affected. And now let's see, so we want to do, let's see, we do color, roughness. We want it to be rougher, and we want it to be like a dark gray wherever it affects, right? And now, I can just mess around here, but if I click Alt+Click, right, now I can actually see where it's painting. So I can go here and just adjust it. Now, again, I only want to paint the body here. So, what do? I'd use my multiplier mode. Turn that off, come here, fill that, turn this back on, multiply, and now it's painting only here. All right. And now I can come here and say, okay, that looks good. And maybe even I want to do a little bit of height, right? Just the teeniest bit of height. Now wherever the metal wear is, it's gonna cut little. So see, now we got these little pock marks in here, and I think I'll adjust that just a little bit. And now if you adjust your contrast again, adjusting your contrast will bring back some of the more transparent or the softer. I say transparent, but I mean the softer, as in terms of this, it'd be the more grayscale, the more gray as opposed to white pieces. All right. Now, another thing is remember that Tri-Planar mode, you also have that here, right? And you can use the Tri-Planar mode here. It doesn't fit our use case though, so I'm just gonna stick with the regular mode. Here I can adjust my grunge amount, and I can actually adjust the scale of the map. And you can see here the map's actually scaling, right? Now, one thing I'm curious about is why is it... Oh wait, is that inside? Here, I'm gonna look. Turn that off. Yeah, and now you'll see like, it's for whatever reason, it's just generating weird in there. So I can go here and randomize my seed. Now, the only thing is like you'll see here, we have that seam, you know, and unfortunately Tri-Planar just isn't really doing it for us right now. So sometimes you just kind of have to suck it up. And the reason why I'm saying that is you can put pretty much anything in any slot. So I can go here and I can say, all right, let's do a fill layer. And I can literally just search for metal edge wear. And I can say, okay, that's cool and all, but you know, I want it to be cylinder projection. Now, what's happening? Okay, because even if I rotate it, this is still all goofed up. Like, what the heck is going on here? What is all this? And I'm gonna show you why. So back here, right? Look what happens when I tile it. Because this is being generated from baked data, it's actually perfectly like designed to fit your mesh you've made. So if I'm tiling this, I'm just tiling the generated data here. So I can't use a fill layer to cheat it. I have to use, that's why I always use a generator, so I'm not tempted to try and mess with it. Because then you have this issue where, what the heck's going on here? You know? So I just have to kind of suck it up here, and you know, you can use curvature weight, and now that adjusts how much the curve affects it. So you'll see like right here where the edges meet. Ambient occlusion, the masking here. So ambient occlusion is subtle shadows around seams. So like in this case, there's ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion, here we can actually take a look. You can see here's these subtle shadows here. Oh, what did I do? I changed my view mode. There's different view modes here. I can view the material, the single channel, and I can actually see the baked data we made over here and look at all that, right? But here I'm looking at ambient occlusion and the subtle shadows here. So if I'm here, the ambient occlusion masking, remember those shadows that were right there? It's gonna say, you can tell it to ignore, to not generate where the shadowing is, right? I usually just leave that alone. Edge smoothness, that adjusts the smoothness of the seams. So if I want to, I can actually do that, and that helps. That actually helps to some degree. Custom grunge here allows me to put in my own grunge map. So if I want to do something silly like this, you know, I can have it use this kind of grunge. Obviously not, but that's what that feature's for. So that's one of the generators you can use. There's also, if you look, there are a bunch of different generators to your available to you. Dripping rust, shrink wrap, light. You can actually, if you don't want to, if you are taking this to Unity and you don't want to use the ambient occlusion in the shader, you can literally just paint it to the texture using the ambient occlusion and just not use the exported map. You can literally just say, okay, I'm not going to use that. I already painted it, you know. So there's different ways to use these tools to your advantage. Now I'm going to come back here. I'm going to say, all right, this is metal wear. All right, cool. Let's see, what do I want to do? That brass looks too shiny. All right, now remember, so I could, okay, I'm gonna be lazy here for just to show you again. I could just click it, but maybe I'm gonna go back and use brass again, right? And wherever I want brass, I want to apply what I'm about to do next. So again, I can do the anchor point. Now this time, instead of subtracting, I'm just gonna do the fill. Select the anchor point. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm not gonna subtract it. I'm not gonna do anything, just leave it like that. So that means wherever brass is painted, wherever brass is painted, this layer is now also going to be painted there. I could just, you can see that it's not great, but just make sure okay, so now let's see, what do I want to do? So I want to do, let's do a roughness and do a color. Take the brass color right here, make it darker. All right, and I'm gonna take a grunge map. Now I can have multiple fill layers. This one I'm gonna name the brass mask. Brass mask, and then this one I'll just leave as is, and I can go in here and say, okay, let's do a grunge mask. Alrighty, what looks good to me? They misspelled concrete, by the way. That's not my doing, that's literally Adobe's. What's this? Oh, here we go, these are spots. Let me see, is there anything better? Rusty leaks. I actually just like the spots, right? So now, okay, look what's happened now. Now it's filling everything, right? What do? Multiply. Now it's only gonna paint where this is. But you can obviously see that's way too big. So we can come over here and adjust our tiling. Now, for whatever reason, like it will only let you go to 32 right now. But if you need to tile more than that, if you just type in like, let's see, just even 33. Now it's unlocked more. You can put in as big a number as you want. I can put in 200. It'll let me do whatever I want. I can just keep on putting numbers in here, right? But usually you won't need to go past that. So let's see. Let's do 16. All right. Okay. So now let's see. Let's take a look at this. Not dark enough. All right. Now another thing here while we're here. Maybe, okay, these spots look too sharp. And yes, I think I can, yeah, see, I can adjust the balance and the contrast and all that. But maybe I don't like how it looks anyways. Maybe I want to do my own thing, right? So I can go over here. Now, filters are another thing you have access to. Add a filter. You have all these lovely things that allow you to just change things on the fly, right? I can add a glow, I can add a gradient, I can adjust the height, whatever. So let's see, I want to do a blur. Just adjust that just ever so slightly. Just want the most subtle of the go to, let's see, 0.1 looks 0.12. That actually looks all right. Okay, cool. So now we have, we have that right there, right? So we've used a filter, we've used a generator, we've used the fill mask. So let's see, let's do brass aging. Cool. Wonderful. All right. What do I want to do now? Okay, let's paint the spray cans. Let's do that. So we can add another fill layer, add a black mask. So that's basically, it becomes second nature once you start getting used to this. You literally just do it out of habit. What do I want to do? Okay, now if I come, let's see. Let's do a hairspray. Let's see, it's a full colored Yes, I forgot what hairspray looks like. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. All right. So what let's see. So we want to do just this. So let's do hair spray paint, and we're gonna do. So I want to. Let's see. What do I want to do for colors? Let's do pink. I'm gonna do color, roughness. Auto saves about the trigger. I'm gonna beat it. Okay. Let's do a color and a pink. And we want it to be somewhat shiny. Alright, so now let's take it. We'll go UV mode because I want to paint just this part. Right, there we go. Cool. Cool beans. Alright, now we have painted that. And then I can do here. Hair, spray, metal. We can go here. Let's see. Let's do metal. I want to do a polished metal. We're going to add a black mask here. Doot, doot, doot. And then what do I want? Don't want brass. I want, another thing with materials, you have presets. Most materials, especially, well, some of the ones you get on online won't have presets, but pretty much most of the ones you'll get from that come built in will have presets. So like here, I'd say I want mirror brass, and then I'm gonna switch it for zinc or silver, something shiny, and I can just tweak it a little bit. Okay, yeah, that looks good. That looks good. And then, all right, where is it painting? It's painting there. I also want to paint the circle. Come on. Sometimes it won't register the first time, so you gotta click it again. It's a little silly. So there we go. I got my hairspray. And all right, I'm starting to get into a lot of fill layers. So what I like to do, I'll make a folder. I'll name this hairspray cans. And I like to color code them so I can know. And I shift, click. Now I have a folder for just that, right? So now, okay. Another thing you can do. So, oh right, I want to do a metal on the bottom. Metal on the bottom. Cool. Paint the bottoms. All right. Now, let's see. I want to put some lettering on here. Now, fill masks aren't just for materials, like, or you can put anything in a fill mask. So I come over here, I type U:, which by the way is the shortcut for looking for specific types. So if I do U material, it shows me only materials. If I do U alpha, it shows me only alpha masks. But I want fonts. Now I want to, let's see, what do I want to do for a font? Sure. And now I want, hairspray. Now where do I want it? I want it only on here, so what am I gonna do? Oh, why is there two? Oh! You ever do that by, yeah, sometimes we get a little, it was on the wrong layer. Okay, cool. Now I have my fill layer. Now I want it to work only on here, so I'll go here and just paint that. And then just do that and tell it to multiply. For this, actually, for text layers, they do work a little differently. Because they're actually completely transparent. They're not while it appears black, it's a completely transparent field. So take this, take my fill layer, need it to be a lot smaller. Shift click tells it to maintain its size. Whereas if I just drag, as well as Control-Click will resize it around the center point. So Shift-Click, I want the hairspray, and Shift-Click is for snapping. It's used for a lot of different things. So now, alrighty, UV protection, my bad, repeat none. All right, let's take a look. So I want it to be on the front side, because this is the back. Of course, I put the seam on the wrong side. Oh, that actually works okay. Although maybe this is just for, this is also a project I'm working on. So I'm just, okay, yeah, that works. And then we'll do that and paste another one, and we'll put it on the next can. Okay. Now it's facing the wrong way, so turn that around. And then take that one more time. Cool. Now we have our labels, and we're just name this hairspray labels. Right. Let's say I have it. Let's change it to a different color. Let's do purple. Cool. Now we have our cans here, right? Oh, other thing. Okay. Let's say I want to paint everything red. Everything red. Except for the handle. Except for the handle, right? So I can do a black mask. And I can go and I can click and click and click. Or move the mask. I can add a white mask. Now this is a mask that starts as white. Which means now all I have to do is just paint this black. And look, now everything is red. Right? Now, if you never need to, you can always invert your mask. It's right there, and it adds a filter or a level adjuster that just inverts it. And now it's just the handle. So, you can, and if you want to uninvert it, you just delete the effect. But white masks can be used to save the trouble of click, 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 click for, when you want to have just one thing excluded. Additionally, you can also use fill masks with, or white masks with the anchor point fills that you'd use to kind of tell to ignore places. You can also combine that too. But for that, let me double check. Add a fill layer, anchor point. All right, if I do subtract, I do believe, no, that is correct. It does subtract it. Multiplying will just tell it to evaluate only there. One more thing I want to do. Now, unfortunately, I cannot really show it because I haven't exported a texture yet. But say I already have a texture, right? And I'm going back and I'm saying, okay, I want to change the silver to be different color, right? So I can add something called add mask with color selection, right? Now, obviously, I don't have the, but you can put in a texture here, right? Now I'm gonna put in this, and obviously, this isn't the right thing. It's easier with the color, but maybe I want to change all of the, hold on. Maybe I want to change all the green things to be whatever, white in this mode, right? Now, it's easier, like for this, I usually just import the colored texture and use that. I usually just import the color texture and use that. But since I don't already have that, I'm just going to use this as our example here. Now I'm going to adjust my tolerance, and you can see that it's now painting for using the ID map. Cannot rotate when you're in color picking. Excuse me, color picking mode. Fill layers you can also use these here. So maybe I want to just apply a little bit, like add a bit of a weight. Or so there's different, like you can use overlay, you can use screen. Maybe I'm doing just a little bit of red, kind of giving everything a red tint, but I don't want it to be solely red. Like see, I'm kind of tinting it red, but it's not actually red. You know, I can use different overlay modes here. Maybe I want, and I mean, sometimes if you're doing something silly, sometimes you can just like go in here. Maybe you're looking to make just something that looks cool. Like this is for normal maps, but you can use it on this and you can just, I mean, maybe I want something to look cool like that, Maybe I want this kind of thing for whatever game I'm doing. So you can use these different modes here, right? Now, what you can do is if you just want to scroll through, so you click it to open it, and you just close it, and now you can hold your mouse over it and just scroll through. Just look through the different modes and just see, okay, what looks good to me? Oh, that looks good, or, whatever. So you can scroll through. Disable, disable is basically the same as just turning it off. I'm not sure why that even exists, but it's an option there. That's all I have for the fill layers for now. If I feel like I have more I want to add, I'll do a second video. Or if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and that way I can go back and explain some more things in detail. I'm just trying to hit all points, but maybe you have a specific use case that you'd like me to answer. I'm here to help you all, whoever needs assistance, and I'm willing to, because if you have that question, maybe someone else does. Who knows? So let me know in the comments if you have any questions, if you need anything, me to clarify anything. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next video, and have a great rest of your day or night. Peace.